Hello, Super Saver. The tentative agreement to raise the debt ceiling that President Biden, House Speaker McCarthy, and their negotiators reached just last night. And will blip yields on T-bills go away soon? That's what I'll be talking about in today's video. And specifically, here are the topics that I'll be covering. 1. What we know about the deal so far. 2. What happens next? And 3. How this deal might impact T-bill yields this week. As usual, here's our front of video disclaimer. For a detailed disclaimer, please refer to the end of this video. So, let's dive in, Super Saver. The answer is not very much. McCarthy's announcement shortly after 9 p.m. yesterday to the public about this tentative debt ceiling deal was around a minute long. Here's what he had to say.
I just got off the phone with the president. I talked to him twice today, and after weeks of negotiations, we have come to an agreement in principle. We still have a lot of work to do, but I believe this is an agreement in principle that's worthy of the American people. It has historic reductions in spending, consequential reforms that will lift people out of poverty into the workforce, rein in government overreach. There are no new taxes, no new government programs. There's a lot more within the bill. We still have more work to do tonight to finish all the writing of it. I do want to take...
If passed in Congress on Wednesday, this prospective agreement would allow the government to meet the newly extended debt ceiling deadline of June 5th as set by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Based on what we know right now, this tentative deal would raise the debt limit for 2 years while cutting and capping some government spending over the same period. More details will be available once the text of the bill is actually posted this weekend. This tentative deal would also avoid the government shutdown battle that was anticipated to happen this fall and push the next funding showdown until after the 2024 elections. We're hoping for the best when Congress votes on Wednesday so that we can all get closure on this debt ceiling saga, at least for another 2 years. But do note that activists on both sides are already expressing their concern before even knowing what is actually in the bill. So there is a possibility that we're not quite in smooth sailing territory just yet. For Super Saver members, I'll be posting some key to-dos this coming week if things do take a turn for the worse. If they don't, we can all celebrate and move on to other fixed income member topics that some of you have been asking about. And for those of you who are new to us, here's some recent members only videos. Now, let's move on to how this tentative deal might impact this week's coming T-bill auctions. So, the original X date set by Treasury Secretary Yellen was June 1st, before she extended it to June 5th, just this past Friday. The X date is the earliest possible date for when the U.S. government could run out of cash to pay its bills. Here's where T-bills maturing on the X date were trading last Wednesday on the secondary market. 7% basically, what I call a blip pricing, yields way above what we usually see, and clearly very attractive to super savers in our community with a bit of cash to invest right now. Of course, the minimum order quantity to get that 7% yield in the secondary market was $100,000. We bought only about a tenth of that amount, so our yield was slightly less, but still very attractive at 6.8%. As I mentioned to our members though, given the short maturity of these bills, the absolute amount of interest earned is not nearly enough to buy a mansion with, but it's enough earned interest for a reasonably priced pizza dinner for our kids that they otherwise wouldn't have had on June 8th, when our 6.8% T-bills will mature. If this tentative debt ceiling deal gets stalled by either party in Congress, though, there is a chance that we may continue to see these elevated yields that we saw last week on T-bills maturing in the June debt ceiling hot zone. And if this does happen, there may be another opportunity for those of you who missed it last week to pick up some very short-term T-bills at blip yields this week, either at auction or in the secondary market. I'll be watching this, so be sure to stay tuned as always. Now, if this tentative debt ceiling deal does not get stalled in Congress, if it goes through as agreed by Biden and McCarthy, then I would expect T-bill rates to normalize back to near pre-debt ceiling crisis levels. So these blip yields on the 4-week T-bill would come back down. So here's the auction schedule for the week currently. On Tuesday, May 30th, the 13-week and 26-week T-bill, as well as a 161-day cash management bill, CMB, will be auctioned off. And on Wednesday, May 31st, the 17-week T-bill will be auctioned off. And on Thursday, June 1st, the 4- and 8-week T-bills will be auctioned off. At the moment, I don't expect that the prospective debt ceiling agreement will significantly impact yields on the 13-week, 17-week, or 26-week T-bills. The green line here shows the yield on the 13-week T-bill since the beginning of the year. The blue line shows the yield on the 17-week T-bill since the beginning of the year. And the red line shows the yield on the 26-week T-bill since the beginning of the year. They've all been trending steadily and stably upwards for the most part because of recent rate hikes and because these maturities are far enough away from the current debt ceiling fight, far enough away from the X date. So it's unlikely in my mind that we'll be seeing any significant volatility there. Unlike with the 4-week T-bills here, as we've all recently witnessed, and unlike with the 8-week T-bill as well, which also experienced some blips, but negative blips rather than positive ones, like the 4-week. Now, for those of you with Vanguard, it's already too late to place your order for the 13-week and 26-week T-bill auctions because the cutoff to place that order was actually last Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who've asked, I don't know why Vanguard did this. For those of you with Fidelity, Schwab, and E-Trade, you can still place your order for the 13-week and 26-week T-bill auctions. As for the 161-day CMB, all the recent CMBs with maturities around the 5-month mark, like these here, have auctioned off above 5%, but not in blip territory because they're also maturing outside of the current June debt ceiling hot zone. And my expectation is that this 161-day CMB will also go out at above 5% this week. If you're interested in participating in the 161-day CMB auction, I've linked this video in the description below. It walks you through how to find them on Fidelity and E-Trade. And yes, those are the only 2 leading brokerage firms that we're aware of that offer CMBs at auction. And no, you cannot buy them on Treasury Direct. All right, Super Saver, good luck to those of you who are planning on picking up some treasuries this week. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. For those of you who want to take a deeper dive into our latest members-only videos, check out our channel page or the joint link in the video description below for more details. And if you're a Super Saver member already, then make sure you didn't miss this recent video in the Member Zone. See you again very soon with more brand new wealth-building content for your financial journey.